Greetings to all, and welcome to Tahiti Monday, Marbles on Stream Tilted. This is Know Your Tiles, the Baby Blues, the fourth video in the series. This is being released after the beginning of Season 15, which means there has been a change to the tilted structure. It now increases in difficulty every 7 levels instead of every 8, so the Baby Blues now consist of levels 21 to 27. As always, these are our names for the tiles, not the official names of the tiles, so you may experience different names for these tiles in other streams. The first changes to the tiles is that there is a new starting piece. You have the original starting piece and then a new starting piece with a corner in the front left and front right corner of the tile. The finishing tiles, left, right, and center, are still unchanged. There are several tiles that now have gaps in the walls of the sides of the tiles. These tiles include the left-right, the parallels going horizontally, the divider room, the X room, and the volcano. There are also tiles that now have no walls on them anymore. This includes the left turn, the right turn, the rolling hills, the narrower tile, the parallels going vertically, the crescent tile, and the octagon tile. Finally, there are 5 new tiles: the uneven hills, the moguls, the hammer, the double hole room, and the revolving bridge. All of these new tiles require new strategies, so we'll go over each new tile in more detail. One of the first things you're going to notice on the Baby Blues is that your starting tiles are no longer safe. That's right, you're going to have some walls missing right on the very first tile. There is a pretty easy way to get all of your marbles to where you want them. Slow roll to the front, dead stop as best you can right in front of that edge, and then gather all your marbles with a hard lean to the left or right hand side, and that'll get all your marbles into the corner, and you can move on through the rest of the level. You can't always save all of the marbles depending on how scattered they are at the start, but nonetheless, it isn't too difficult once you get the hang of it. Probably the tile requiring most practice is going to be the double hole room. The double hole room has a couple different ways to get into. If you only have a few marbles, you can actually just slow roll your way towards that entrance. Up to 8 marbles will fit comfortably, 9 if you're perfect, and you can literally just slow roll straight in and straight out of the double hole room. However, if you do have more than those 8 marbles, you're going to go for the peel. The trick to the peel is start slow and then speed up. Speeding up when you're going too slow is a lot better than trying to slow down when you're going too fast. If you go too fast trying to swing into a double hole room, the marbles will not clear the far wall, and they will begin to scatter and go straight into that first hole of the double hole room. So start off slow, and then as you see your marbles peel in, you can correct with speed to get them as much speed as needed to get through around that opening on the first entrance, and that'll get you collected into the corner on the left and right hand side. Same rules apply for leaving a double hole room. You can either peel out or you can go for a slow roll out if you have 8 or fewer marbles. When you leave the hole room, you need to make a couple decisions. Do you want to be horizontal or vertical going across and out of the double hole room? If you're trying to go vertical, the peel is your best strategy, which is what we want to go for this case. If you want to go to horizontal, you can actually collect on the side wall here, and that'll get you a nice horizontal line, but that's going to take some meandering to get through out of that double hole room if you have more than 8 marbles. The one final option is actually having a cluster, which is a little tricky to do when you get into the corner, but not impossible. If you use a little bit of splash as you bounce off of the wall with the marbles, you can actually try to get a good cluster coming in off of that rounded edge. It's not going to be perfect, but it is going to be a little bit better than going in a perfectly straight line, horizontal or vertical. So after a little bit of wiggling and waggling back and forth, you can kind of get a bit of a cluster, holding both directions to stabilize your marbles exactly where you want them, and then very slowly let the marbles roll out of that corner, and you should be able to have that nice straight cluster coming out of that corner to get you through on the map. Again, all of these techniques take a lot of practice and finagling to get right, so do take a lot of time in this room to get it just how you want it, and that is going to be your best approach to the double hole room. Sometimes your entrance to the double hole room will not have a corner before it, and this is going to give you just one attempt to get it right. Do a soft landing against the wall, letting go of the controls so that your marbles flatten across it as nicely as possible, and then you only get one take to peel those marbles into the double hole room. So again, you're going to need a lot of practice on this tile if you want to get good with it. Just take it slow and keep practicing until you're comfortable. For the uneven hills, it's going to be very tempting to just use that side wall to power your marbles straight through and ignore the tile completely. But this is a bad habit to get into, as those side walls are not going to be there for very long. More importantly, you need to get familiar with the 4 different hills on the uneven hills tile. The first section is that very middle line, slightly curving over to the left-hand side. The entrance is going to be flat right around the middle, and then slightly to the left is going to be the next entrance, and you can usually get most of your marbles through without too much scatter across the tile. That being said, you're not always going to have the ability to line it up perfectly depending on how that tile is paired up, and so you're going to need to know how to navigate over the other 3 hills. The first hill on the left in the front of the tile is almost impossible to get over, and getting over it is going to result in a tremendous amount of scatter. So this is not what you want to be going for. Just a quick demonstration here. Trying to get over this hill on the left is very hard to do, and the scatter is almost unsurvivable on that particular piece, so not recommended. What I would recommend is always aim for the middle. If you can't, try to be on the left or the right hand side of the tile and go over that small hill. The small hills you can get over without too much scatter, but it's going to take a lot of practice of getting used to. Again, with all of these tiles in the baby blues, practice is the key. You got to keep going over them until you're absolutely comfortable with them. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time on your run. Going horizontally into the hills, again, it's all about navigating those uneven hills on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, avoid at all costs, if possible. Otherwise, just hang on as best you can to get through that tile. The revolving bridge is another tile that's going to take a lot of practice. Fortunately, this tile allows for a lot of practice as it has complete wall coverage on it. You do want to be in a straight line, or at least as close to a cluster as you can, going into the sliding or into the revolving tile. You have about 3 seconds to get across the edge on the tile. You do have to be careful. As you can see, there's a slight clipping of that front wall edge into the tile in the front and back of it. So you don't want your marbles right at the edge waiting for the revolving bridge to come around, as that will flick your marbles and scatter them very far away. To practice on the revolving bridge, you want to try to keep your marbles on that back short edge on the opposite side of the entrance. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to with the slight delay in the build of Season 13 and Season 14. So make sure you have lots of practice keeping your marbles exactly where you want them. To get out of the revolving bridge tile, you need to go for a slow roll, or if you have a good tile coming out of it, you can use the right side edge to go through as quickly as possible. But what you're going to need to do is pull off of the wall as soon as your tile is facing the wrong direction, and then once the tile is close enough to the front direction, you can go straight across in more or less a well-confined area. Again, you can peel off the right side edge if you have tiles conducive to it after that tile, but otherwise just practice going around on that tile until you're completely comfortable, and you should be good to go for the baby blues. Another moving tile you're going to need to get used to is the hammer. Fortunately, the speed of the hammers is reduced for level 24 in the baby blues, so you have lots of time to get used to this tile. You can actually circle around the hammer completely without taking a single hit, so a very useful tile. Usually this will combo well with tiles in front of it and back of it to form corners. However, if you don't, you still have those flat edges all the way along the left right hand sides to group your marbles up on. Even if you take a hit from the hammer, usually you can still recover by using those sidewalls, which I'll try to demonstrate next. And just to demonstrate a hammer hit, you're going to be going through, you accidentally mistime the hammer, you get hit by it. All you need to do is just hold one direction, either left or right, to collect all the marbles on that side, and then you should be able to recover going down the left or right hand edge and get down into a new area to collect in. The mogul tile is not a particularly difficult tile by itself, but can be when paired with others. Your best approach initially is just to have your marbles in close to a straight line as possible, and just go through one of the many gaps between those lines of moguls. You won't always be able to do that, and in that case, there is another strategy. If you don't have the chance to get into a straight line when you approach your mogul tiles, you can always try to power through. Just make sure you're continually holding the direction across the tile to make sure you counter any sideways motion and scatter caused by those moguls. And that is how I do it. This has been Know Your Tiles, the Baby Blues. Thank you for watching. We hope you learned something. And be sure to stay tuned for the next episode in this series, The Poiples.